If someone you love dearly turned into a worm, would you still care for them? Like a family or a friend, you know?
I would care for the person that I lost because they turned into a worm, but...
So you'd grieve for them, but you wouldn't take care of them? You wouldn't make it...
I would probably keep the worm as a pet.
As a pet?
Yeah, like I would keep it. I would keep it alive, you know? Because I know that is one of my family or loved ones, you know?
And then you'd let them crawl all over your hand?
If it's just a worm, yeah.
Really? You're okay with worms?
Yeah, worms are good for the earth.
Wow. Wait, you're not scared of bugs?
I'm scared of certain bugs.
Oh, okay. I'm scared of all bugs.
If it's not a big worm, you know?
Okay. What if it was a big worm? What if it was like, you know, Kafka level of...
What's Kafka?
So, you know, Kafka has this short story called Metamorphosis, and it's where this guy one day turns into a gigantic cockroach, a human-sized cockroach.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrifying. What? Are they still sentient?
They're still sentient, but they can't talk.
But they still have human emotions?
Yeah, they can experience everything just fine. It's just that the other people can't understand. Yeah.
I would probably still care for them, yes.
Really? Like a giant worm just like crawling its way around the house.
I would just make sure that the worm is sanitary.
Okay, how would you keep it clean?
For example, if it's my mom, I'd be like, Mom, make sure, even if you worm around the house, make sure you stay clean. You shower, okay? Because she's sentient, right? She's sentient. It understands what I say. And is still able to do everything, just can't communicate with me, right?
Okay, so and would you like eat with her at the dinner table?
I mean, you know, be like, Mom, you can provide for yourself, right? We can, you can grab something from outside, yeah? Yeah.
So you're not going to... I thought you were going to take care of your mom, but like, no, you know, if it's like to each their own.
Yeah, I thought she was going to be a tiny worm that can't even take care of herself, but no, from what you said, it means that, you know, she'd be a sentient being that would still be able to handle on their own. If they're giant and can do everything else themselves, they just can't.
Yeah, well, what if she gets killed because there's a gigantic worm just worming around the neighborhood?
I thought she would be the only gigantic thing on the planet. Like gigantic human-sized worm is what I was assuming, right?
Wouldn't the FBI or CIA decide to like come over and kidnap your mom for research purposes?
Oh yeah, that's true. I don't want her to like deal with that.
Yeah.
So I would probably
have to provide for her.
Yeah, I could provide food. Like, you know, I just go to the insect pet shop and...
What if she wants human food?
Yeah, I can give her human food.
Okay.
I thought the whole problem was that she wouldn't be able to eat human food anymore. But okay, if that's not the case, then that makes it easier. I just feed her what I eat.
What if the person that you care about, friend, family, what if it was a maggot instead? A gigantic maggot.
What does a maggot do? What makes a maggot so much grosser than other bugs? I honestly don't really know what a maggot looks like, I think.
It's best you don't know. Well, like, they eat flesh, and
I thought you said they would eat human food. If it eats human food, I'd be fine with. If it's gonna eat flesh and eat me, then I don't think I'd be able to take care of it.
Oh, like they're everywhere. It's not just human flesh. They eat basically anything.
It's a baby fly? You know, I mean, yeah, I think I'd be fine. Yeah?
Okay. So, like, would you still eat with her at the dinner table?
I mean, we never really eat together anyways. We always eat separately.
But what if she suddenly wants to eat together because she's lonely?
Because she's lonely?
Yeah, because she's a worm now.
She's a worm. Wait, so we're going with the worm still and not
maggot. Maggot, whichever.
Yeah! I mean, I think it's just about getting used to things, right?
You have such a beautiful heart. It's honestly very touching.
If it's mom, then yeah. If it's auntie, I think it'd be a little bit different, you know?
Oh, what if it was your auntie? Hello?
My auntie?
Yes?
She never really lived with me to begin with, so...
So, you would not provide for her?
She must have someone closer to her to do that, right?
That's true, but like, what if she can't be, you know... what if she can't be transported back to where she was because once she does, she's going to get shot at or taken for research purposes. Would you just let that happen?
To Auntie?
Yeah?
To Auntie Worm?
Yeah.
I would ask Auntie Worm what happened to Uncle.
Do you think she would be able to respond?
I can transport her. I can transport her to, like, you know, a different area, like where Uncle is. Yeah, I'd take her to Uncle.
Yeah, but what if he lives in a completely different country, and so you have to transport her through different means, and then the people would ask, oh, what's in this crate? And then you would say it's a living creature, and then they open it up and it's a gigantic worm, and then they would pull out...
And they would put out, what, a gun?
Yeah, yeah, you know, something like that.
I mean...
Would you not be traumatized? Would you just be like, oh my god, my auntie just got killed? Or, oh, well, well, huh.
It's like... I wouldn't be like, well, but you know, there is a limit to how much I can do. My auntie wasn't that close to me in my lifetime, you know? Like I don't remember. Oh no, time's up. What? Wait, I would like to ask you the same. Like, would you take care of a loved one if they were a giant maggot worm thingy?
Oh, you know, like, that's a really good question.
It's literally the same question you asked me, so yeah.
Oh, wait, before I answer, you know, if it was a maggot, right? It turns into a fly. Would you be okay with keeping Auntie Fly in the house?
I think Auntie Fly can fly off and
then get shot at?
No. She can hide. She can hide somewhere, you know? I could get her, like, a little cottage that she can fly around in. And she can... And like deep inside like some sort of woods where people barely, you know, pass by. It'd be like a little abandoned... I'll find her a little abandoned cottage and then she can just fly around. Okay.
But what if someone decides to, you know, have a little stroll in the woods and then they hear gigantic fly sounds and then they go and check it out and they see Auntie Fly just flying around, and so they get scared and pull out a gun?
Okay, no. In that case, before that happens, I would make sure... I'd be willing to install soundproof inside. We got it. Just install some soundproof sponges, you know, on the walls. I'd also be willing to put a lock on the door.
A lock on the door. So you're willing to have your auntie as a hostage, basically?
No, she can unlock it whenever she wants, so she's not stuck in there.
Well, how is she able to lock it?
No. It's like a button, right? From inside, you know, you just press the thing. I would have, like, you know, those fingerprint locked IDs, but it's for like giant fly, you know? I would just take her little fly arm or whatever you call that, hand or leg or whatever.
Well, the fly doesn't have any fingerprints, any sort of
so
ID.
I would have a machine that would just take any fly print, you know, any sort of
I don't think they have that.
No other fly could do that, so it would automatically lock onto only her.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Huh. That's interesting.
Like a fly scanner, right? So
like
that way she can have her own privacy. And she can leave whenever she wants to. And it's soundproof, so no matter how loud she buzzes inside there, no one's gonna know.
You know, this all sounds really expensive.
Yeah, it is. But, you know, if I just do that, then she can probably hang on her own, right? After that.
But how is she gonna get food?
It's gonna be deep in a woods where people rarely walk, so she'll keep an eye out to make sure nobody's walking around, and she'll go out, buzz around, and find food and come back.
And then what if she, like, encounters a gigantic animal, like woodland creature,
She's
like
a giant
bear?
fly. She can fly away.
But, you know, if she's like distracted looking for food and then, you know, her back is exposed, then maybe
well, I mean, even if
a
I was
bear.
around, I wouldn't be able to do anything about the bear.
What if one day she doesn't come back and you're just like sitting at the cottage thinking,
Oh.
Auntie, where did you go? Where did you go flying around to this time? And then
Maybe
she just doesn't come back.
I would assume that maybe Auntie also inherited the fly lifespan and be like, oh, she lived a good life. You know, like if she turned into a fly, I would assume that she won't live as long as if she was a human, right?
Wow. You know, I thought you weren't really close with your auntie, but to go this far for your auntie, you're such an empath.
Thank you. Thank you. Would you do that for your fly auntie?
My fly, you know, yeah, I could. Yeah.
You could.
Yeah, I'm sure my mom would have a great time with my fly auntie. Maybe they could like have a nice little.
So it's not you, it's your mom that has to take care of the fly auntie.
I mean, we could all take turns, you know.
Oh, so you have a whole family to help you provide for fly auntie.
Oh yeah, basically, yeah, because like my aunt's really nice, and my mom would be sad if she were to get shot.
What if fly auntie was your only surviving family?
Wow, that's suddenly really deep.
Yeah, it's just assuming that you don't have other people to help provide for fly auntie. It's just you. You're the only one that fly auntie can depend on. What would you do?
Well, if that's the case, then I would probably die of a heart attack. So in order to prevent that from happening, I would first put her in our house where everyone's gone because she's the only surviving family. So we can just like put her into our family home.
Why would you have a heart attack? Wait.
Because I'd be very terrified of her.
Oh, okay.
I would put her there, and then I would be blindfolded when I enter.
Huh?
And then I'd be like, Auntie, where are you? And then actually, I would like to have earplugs on too. I'd like to be blind and deaf.
How would you be able to know if she's in the house or not?
I would feel the vibrations. I would be like, Auntie, make a sound. And then, you know, she'd make a gigantic buzzing sound, right? And I'd be like, oh, she's nearby. And I'd
but
be
you
like,
have earplugs, so you wouldn't be able to hear it, right?
no, but I'd feel the vibrations. Because, you know, like she's pretty gigantic. So the vibrations would be felt throughout the house.
So you would feel the wind in your face from her wings.
Yeah, that too. And then, you know, it would be very disgusted and horrified. But then, and also the earplugs don't really cancel everything out. So I'd be able to hear some sounds. And so I'd be like, hey, Auntie, I brought you some food. Here you go. Here's some water. Don't touch me. And then, you know, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to step out now. If you don't want me to leave, make a buzzing sound. If you don't, then don't make a sound. And then
what would you do if she goes?
I'd be like, yes, Auntie, what do you want? Do you want me to say?
You wouldn't be able to know what she exactly wants, right?
No, I would be like, Auntie, if you want me to stay, buzz once to say yes, buzz twice to say no.
Oh, so if she buzzes once, then what do you do?
I'd be like, okay, I'm only going to stay for an hour because I have to go work now.
What if she suddenly starts buzzing like crazy? What if she's like going through a very depressing phase where she just really wants to just end herself, you know?
Oh, that's... Well, you know, I would say, Auntie...
And like, basically, what if she starts buzzing and being like, no, if you leave me, I don't know what I would do with myself. You need to stay with me. That's what she would mean when she buzzes like crazy, you know?
Well, you know, I wouldn't understand that, and so I would start screaming, because if I feel her and I feel the little hair that's on a fly, I think I would crash out immediately.
So you would crash out and you would let her just be alone even though she's threatening to not exist anymore?
You know, she's probably going through menopause or something.
Wait, flies can go through menopause?
But you know, like a human turned into a fly. Maybe she's going through menopause. Maybe like give it a day or two and she's gonna chill out.
That means this fly is, until she goes through menopause, she's gonna have the blood moon rise and
I
drip
mean,
blood all
no,
over the
not
house?
like that. No, like she's already going through menopause. So I'd be like, she's having mood swings as usual because she's getting older and she's a fly. So I have to understand, but also no means no. And then I'd have to, leave.
So
I try to make a compromise, but I can't.
you wouldn't work in the room next door to her, and if she ever like buzz knocks, you won't come rushing to help her. You won't come rushing to help her or anything,
No, because how would I explain it to other people? Like, let's say, konnichiwa, and then people hear like gigantic buzzing sounds in the background, and then they would be thinking, is there a construction? Or like, what's going on?
You could have, like, what if you had like a button for her to press if she really needed help so she doesn't have to make that sound on stream, right?
But she's going through menopause, so she's probably going to be pressing
You're
that
just gonna
button
ignore
once
the-
every
the
5
beeping,
seconds.
The beeping. What if she's going through an actual, like, life-threatening situation and not menopause? You wouldn't know unless you went to check, right?
Well, I would tell her to knock if it was really urgent, and then I would tell
You
her
didn't
my.
want her to buzz knock, right? 'Cause
I
then
would
she
show her my schedule and be like, hey, auntie, this is the time that I'm going to be streaming and working. So please don't bother me within these hours. Only bother me when it's really urgent. Like you need to go to the hospital.
You can't take her to the hospital, right? Otherwise she would get experimented and killed, right?
That's true. But
So
I
you're
would
the
tell
only one she
her.
can depend on.
I would tell her just so that she doesn't feel so helpless is the
No,
thing.
so that's why you would have to be near her so that her body or her health won't escalate to the point where she has to go to the hospital. Because otherwise, you're not a doctor. You can't heal her yourself.
Exactly.
Right?
I'm not a
Right,
doctor,
that's
so
why
if
you have
she's
to be
sick.
near her to make sure that she's healthy pretty much all the time. If even a slight disruptance happens, you have to take care of her. Otherwise, it would come to the worst case scenario where she would only survive if she went to a hospital, and that would be impossible, right?
Well, also, I never majored by biology, so I don't know how to fix a fly. And so I try to give her some, I don't know, Tylenol, maybe liquid Tylenol, like put Tylenol in the water and maybe give it to her, some painkillers. And then if that doesn't work, I mean, like you said, maybe she's going through the average lifespan of a fly. And, I've tried.
Backed up into the lifespan of a fly.
I've tried all that I could.
All that you could, which is Tylenol. And if Tylenol doesn't work, then
I tried. Hey, auntie, do you want anything? And she would say yes, and I'd be like, okay, what do you want? And then I would give her like bunch of crosswords, how they have like little blocks. Maybe she can communicate like that, come to think of it.
What if she takes those blocks and literally lines out the words, I'm lonely?
Okay, well, maybe I would give her a Tinder app, just for entertainment purposes, and I'd be like,
Wait,
well,
you're gonna make her go on a dating app? What?
yeah, like if she's lonely,
She can't show her face. She can't show her face on a dating app.
she could probably go
should be giant.
catfishing
With a different picture.
with her old pictures.
But she would never actually be able to meet these people, right?
Exactly, yeah, but then if
So
she's
she's just gonna
lonely,
have-
at least she can talk to people, right?
She can't talk to them. She can only chat with them.
I know, like chat, like messaging, like, and then maybe she'd feel less lonely, and if that doesn't
But
help...
that wouldn't be long term. That wouldn't be a long term conclusion to the problem, right? Because it's a dating app, so obviously, most likely, they would be like, oh, they start chatting. If they're interested, they'd be like, want to meet up, and she wouldn't be able to meet up, right? So then they would eventually be like, oh, she's not interested, and they would cut her off.
Yeah, I'd have to tell her that, it's like take it or leave it kind of situation. You want to talk to people? Here you go. But if you want to go meet them, sure, but consider that to be your first and last time that you'll be seeing someone.
By the way, where is Uncle in this whole situation?
Where is Uncle in this situation? Thank you very much. Where is
Oh
Uncle?
yeah, Uncle. Never mind. Uncle is not
Oh,
around.
you said the last, last surviving family member. Okay, I was like, where is Uncle? Like, Uncle, please.
Uncle is not around in this scenario. Yes.
See, you can have all sorts of conversations with Power Wash. It's magical.
You're right. It's magical. You can start talking about fly aunties.
Yeah, you know that wasn't really.
Wait, I'm curious. What about if it's Fly Mom?
Fly Mom?
Fly Mom, yeah.
Okay.
Fly Mom. Would you be able to stick with her through all the tough times?
Stick with her? Ha ha ha. Because flies, you know, they stick.
I know. Yeah, I totally didn't make that connection when I said that, but yeah.
If it's Fly Mom, then I'd make an exception. I'd still be blindfolded with earplugs and everything, but you know, I would let her have a button.
Her fly hand? Yeah, you would let her have a button.
I'd let her have a button.
So if she beeps it, you would go to her and you would sleep next to her, even blindfolded.
Yeah, blindfolded with earplugs and then wear gloves, be covered from head to toe, preferably with a suit on.
A suit?
Yeah, you know, like one of those radioactive suits that you can wear.
Oh.
If that's the case, I could probably hug her.
Radioactive suit.
A hazmat suit. Yeah, that. Yeah.
Those are expensive.
I'd get it for her.
Yeah, so you can hug your fly mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is very sweet. I can see the difference in how you treat fly mom versus fly auntie.
I mean, you know, you're your mom, you know?
Right, yeah, exactly. It's your mom, you know? Even if she's a fly, if she's sentient, there's so much that you need to think about, you know?
Yeah, and then if she wants anything, I tell her to, like, point to what she wants on the DoorDash or something, and then she can just, like, use her fly hands.
The DoorDash?
Yeah.
You wouldn't give Auntie Fly that option of DoorDashing?
You know, I could.
You would deliver her food personally instead of DoorDashing. I'm assuming DoorDashing is maybe a little too expensive of a fee
it's
for
a
fly
little bit
auntie.
Expensive is
But
the
if
thing.
it's fly mom, you know, then DoorDashing, sure.
Yeah. You want to do that?
Huh?
You want to do that for your fly mom?
I think Fly Mom would understand that, you know, she doesn't want to make me DoorDash every single day for her, you know? I think she would understand that it's very expensive and would only DoorDash on special occasions, you know, like her birthday.
Oh.
Yeah. You know, for like something fancy, something that I can't just bring to her, you know?
That's so sweet.
Right, she can DoorDash a whole cake and everything. And, you know, she's a fly, so she must love cake, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd let Fly Mom DoorDash. It's okay. You know? Like, if it's her, it's okay. She can do anything. She can do no wrong.
Mom, of course.
And then she can be like a fly, you know? Some people are saying she could be a fly VTuber. And then, you know, I'd be like, hey, if you're really lonely, maybe you could start a VTuber thing. And then
Would she be able to type on a computer?
she would just be doing Zatsus.
Yeah, but how would she start the stream, you know? How would she make the frame? How would she type out, like...
I tell her, you know how we have like stream decks? Maybe she can do stuff with that and I can configure it for her.
Oh, wow. How would she figure out how to actually communicate with the audience if she's just a fly that buzzes?
You know, it's just a Zatsu, so, you know, she would just be like... And then people would be like, whoa, this is like really insane role-playing.
Insane role-playing.
And then people would be like, whoa, what kind of sound effects are you using? And like, oh, can you like make this kind of noise? And she'd be like... And then people would be like, wow, I didn't know that flies can make that kind of sound.
Dang. I can't imagine how that would go.
Exactly. See, wasn't this a delightful conversation?
It was. It very much was. It made me think about how important my family is to me.
What a wonderful takeaway, you know?
Right?
I'm glad that we can come out of this conversation with the newfound appreciation for our family once more.
Yes. Mm-hmm.